Right now, while you are reading this, there is free money sitting somewhere with your name on it. Not a scam, not a lottery. Real money, legally yours, that you are simply not picking up. And the strangest part is this. You walk past it every single day without ever noticing it is there. You are not lazy. You are not stupid. You are doing exactly what almost everyone around you is doing. But the real answer to why this money slips through your fingers is far stranger than carelessness. To understand it, you have to stop thinking like a person for a moment. You have to start thinking like an ant. Picture a single ant leaving the colony at sunrise. Her job is simple. Find food. Bring it home. Keep the colony alive. She crawls across the soil, antennae twitching, searching for crumbs. Now imagine that on her path there is a pile of sugar. Enormous, glittering, free for the taking, and she walks straight past it. Why would she do that? Because she never learned to see it. Her eyes are tuned to find one specific kind of crumb, the kind she has always carried. The sugar is right there, but it does not match the pattern in her tiny brain. So to her, it may as well be invisible. You do the exact same thing with money. Your brain is tuned to see your paycheck. It is tuned to see your bills. But the free food on the path? You crawl right past it. Today, you are going to learn to see it. We are going to walk the same path the ants walk, and we're going to find 4 piles of free sugar that almost everyone steps over. By the end, you will never look at your own trail the same way again. The first pile of free sugar is the one that millions of people leave to rot every single year. In the human world, it has a boring name: the employer match. Stay with me, because this is the closest thing to magic that exists in personal finance, and most people throw it directly in the trash. Imagine the queen of the colony makes you an offer. For every crumb you carry into the storage chamber, she will add a second crumb of her own. You bring 1, she gives 1. You bring 10, she gives 10. It is doubled, instantly, for free, simply because you showed up and did the work. No ant in her right mind would refuse that. And yet, in the human colony, this is exactly what happens. Your employer offers to match the money you save for retirement, often dollar for dollar up to a limit. You put in 100, they put in 100. That is a 100% return before your money has done anything at all. Vanguard, one of the largest investment companies in the world, studies this every year. Their research consistently shows that a stunning number of workers either do not contribute enough to get the full match, or do not contribute at all. They are leaving the queen's crumbs on the floor. We are talking about billions of dollars, collectively, that workers are entitled to and simply never collect. Think about that. Your boss is holding out free money, and the most common human response is to look away. Why does this happen? Part of it is the invisible sugar problem. If no one ever explained the match to you, your brain never built the pattern to see it. But part of it is deeper. The free crumbs do not arrive today. They arrive decades from now, locked in a chamber you cannot open until you are old. And here is where ants understand something humans struggle with. An ant does not eat every crumb the moment she finds it. She carries it home and stores it for a winter she cannot yet see. She acts for a future self she will never meet in this season. Can you do the same? So the first lesson of the trail is simple. Find out if your employer offers a match. If it does, contribute at least enough to collect every crumb the queen is offering. Anything less is walking past free sugar. The second pile is quieter. It does not announce itself. It just sits there, slowly, while you sleep. This one is about where you keep the crumbs you already have. Most people store their savings in a regular bank account. It feels safe. It feels responsible. And in a way, it is. But here is the strange truth. A typical savings account pays you almost nothing to hold your money. Pennies. Crumbs of crumbs. Meanwhile, just a few steps down the trail, there are accounts that pay you many times more for doing the exact same thing. They are called high-yield savings accounts, and the money inside them is just as safe and just as available. Think of it like 2 storage chambers in the colony. In the first chamber, your crumbs simply sit there. They do not grow. They do not multiply. In the second chamber, for reasons of pure structure, every crumb you store quietly produces a little more, day after day, without you lifting a single leg. Same crumbs, same effort, wildly different result. The only difference is which chamber you chose to walk into. Why do so many ants stay in the empty chamber? Because it is the one they have always used. There is a force in human behavior that economists have studied for decades. The economist Richard Thaler, who won a Nobel Prize for his work, described how people stick with the default option even when a better one is right beside it. He called this kind of pull inertia, and it is powerful. The path of least resistance is to leave your money exactly where it is. The ant who always turns left will keep turning left, even when the richer chamber is to the right. So the second lesson is this. Look at where your savings actually sleep at night. If they are in an account paying you almost nothing, you are storing your crumbs in the empty chamber. Moving them is not complicated. It is simply a turn you have not yet made. The third pile of free sugar is one you have probably stepped over 1,000 times. It hides inside things you were going to buy anyway. Every time you spend, there is a chance to get a small piece of that spending handed back to you. Cashback, rewards, points. To some people this sounds trivial, and on any single purchase, it is. A crumb, a speck. But ants do not build colonies from single crumbs. They build them from millions of tiny ones carried home over time. The genius of the colony is not one heroic ant carrying a feast. It is thousands of ants carrying specks, relentlessly, until the chamber overflows. Adam Smith, the thinker often called the father of modern economics, wrote centuries ago about how small, individual actions, repeated across a system, create enormous collective results. He was describing markets, but the ant colony is the purest version of his idea. No single ant is in charge. No single crumb matters. And yet the sum of all those crumbs feeds an entire civilization underground. Your spending works the same way. If you're going to buy groceries, fuel, the everyday things you cannot avoid, and you can route that spending through something that hands a small piece back to you, you are picking up specks that would otherwise vanish into the soil. The key word, and listen closely, is anyway. This only works on what you were already going to buy. The moment you spend more just to chase the speck, you are no longer an ant gathering free sugar. You are an ant burning energy chasing a crumb that costs you too. The reward is only free if the spending was already happening. So the third lesson, on the spending you cannot avoid, collect the specks. Let the colony principle work for you. A speck is nothing. 1,000,000 specks is a chamber full of food. Now we come to the fourth pile, and it is the largest of them all. It is so large that once you truly see it, the other three start to look small. This is the free money that your money makes while you do absolutely nothing. Imagine one ant standing in the storage chamber. Overnight, she splits, and now there are 2. The next night, those 2 become 4, then 8, then 16. At first it is almost boring. 2, 4, 8, who cares? But ants are patient, and patience is where the magic lives. Keep going, keep doubling. Before long, that chamber is not holding a handful of ants. It is holding an army that no single worker could ever have carried home on her own. This is compound interest, and Albert Einstein is often quoted, perhaps apocryphally, as calling it the most powerful force in the universe. Whether he truly said it does not matter. The math says it for him. When your money earns a return, and that return earns its own return, and that keeps stacking year after year, the growth stops being a line and starts being a curve. A slow, quiet curve that bends upward harder the longer you leave it alone. Here is the part that should make you sit up. The single most valuable ingredient in this entire process is not how much you carry. It is time. An ant who starts storing crumbs early, even small ones, will end up with a fuller chamber than an ant who starts late and works twice as hard. The early ant gave her crumbs more nights to double. The late ant, no matter how strong, can never buy back those lost nights. There is a famous study you may have heard of, run by the psychologist Walter Mischel. He sat young children in a room with a single marshmallow and offered them a deal. Wait, do not eat it, and you will get 2. Some children grabbed the one immediately. Others waited, eyes fixed on the prize, and earned the second. Years later, the children who waited tended to do better across a whole range of outcomes. The lesson everyone takes is about willpower, but there is a quieter lesson hiding underneath. The reward for waiting was not just one extra marshmallow. It was doubling. It was the same force the ants use every night in the chamber. The patient ones do not just get more. They get multiplication. So why do humans struggle so much with this fourth pile, the biggest one of all? Because it is the slowest. The curve is flat at the beginning. For a long time, it looks like nothing is happening. Your crumbs sit there, doubling from 1 to 2, 2 to 4, and your impatient human brain whispers that this is pointless. It is not. You are simply early on the curve. The ants do not panic when the army is small. They keep storing because they have seen what the chamber looks like in the end. Let us walk back up the trail and count what we found. The Queen's Match, doubled crumbs offered for free that millions leave to rot. The richer storage chamber, where your savings grow instead of sitting still. The endless specks, cash back on what you would spend anyway, carried home by the million. And the doubling army, compound growth, the free money your money makes while you sleep. For piles of sugar, all on a path you already walk, all invisible until someone teaches your eyes to see them. And that is the real trick, the one the ants have known for 100 million years before humans ever printed a single coin. The colony does not survive because one ant is brilliant. It survives because the colony learned to see the food that was always there, and to carry it home for a season it could not yet feel. The sugar was never hidden. You just had not learned the pattern. So here is the question I want to leave crawling around in your mind. If there is free money on your path right now, sugar you have walked past 1,000 times without seeing, what changes the moment you finally learn to look down? Right now, while you are reading this, there is free money sitting somewhere with your name on it. The only thing that ever stood between you, and it was a pair of eyes tuned to walk right past. Now your eyes are tuned differently. Now you see the trail the way an ant does, and the colony is waiting for you to start carrying it home.